Welcome to the Leadership Compass, where we explore the essence of leadership with clarity and purpose. I am Grace Akinyemi, and with me here today is my co-host,
Ayomide Otokiti. Together, we'll be unraveling the mysteries behind leadership and vision. In today's episode, we'll be taking a deep dive into the art of leadership and why it is so important. What exactly is the fuzz all about? Why is it so important to envision the future you want as an exemplary leader? Now, today we have an important guest in our midst, Mr. Tobe, who seems to be a seasoned business manager, has a track record of implementing several digital platforms.
And one thing I can tell you today is that our guest is an expert who is well known, not just as a leader in the business world, but also a leader in the Christian world. He is a Christian leader who is so passionate about building potentials in young adults, and he has impacted into lives across the globe. So today we make welcome Mr. Tobe Nnadozie. Welcome to the show today.
Thank you, Grace and Ayo. I'm excited to be on the Leadership Compass for today.
We're more excited to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tobe. So just a very quick one to start with. You would agree with me that success in business doesn't come cheap. And as much as we have successful business, we also have businesses that have failed. But then you also agree with me that at the heart of every successful business is a leader with a laser-focused vision. So what exactly would you say the importance of vision is for businesses that succeed?
So in life generally, and not just even in business, I think across life, visioning is critical because it's the vision that makes you to see what others are not seeing. So a man who has vision is able to see where people will get to eventually. He'll be able to articulate what exactly people will get to when they get to that point. And a smart man who sees vision will now carve out a path. So that means people tend to follow those who have vision. So if you want to be successful in anything, you have to see what others are not seeing. And that's what visioning is all about. I mean, let's take visioning from all the complex definitions of visioning by various business schools and all that across the world. Vision is seeing what others are not seeing before they see it. And a man who has vision and is smart will not just see, but will articulate a path to get to what is seen.
That's very much profound, Grace. What do you think about that?
Oh, well, okay, so I'm going to say something. I actually find it thrilling that you were able to, spearhead, or let me use the word spearhead, the digital banking system in Nigeria. And we won't be talking about digital banking system in Nigeria without mentioning the legendary Tobe Nnadozie, right? So how were you able to achieve such a feat?
Okay, let me talk about something that one of the first which we had was the mobile POS terminals, the ones which are very portable in Nigeria. I mean, sometimes visioning is not about something not existing. It's making something work within your own immediate environment. So I'd gone to different innovation hubs in different parts of the world, South Korea, Chennai in India. I'd gone to the US and I'd seen innovation working in many of these places. So I came back to Nigeria and people gave me various reasons why I could not work. Network is bad, telco will not work, data will disappoint you and all that. So for me, I had seen something work and I knew we could have a flavor of what was work in Nigeria. What did I do? Fortunately for me, I had a bank executive that believed in the future of banking. They bought into it and were able to start testing. In the testing, we had to call the OEM to fine-tune the device to work with the data challenges which we had in Nigeria. One of the things which they did, for example, was where data was not a problem. If you use your card on the mobile POS, the data would work, it would go. We had to do some sort of, collation and parsing of the information which it picks from your card and pend it. It pushes it. If it fails, it tries to push it again. And eventually it got to work. The same thing we had to do with, the cash deposit ATMs. A number of banks had brought in cash deposit ATMs into Nigeria. The challenge we had was, take for example, the 500 naira bill at that time. If you go to most other countries, in the developed world where cash deposit was working, a bill is a bill. All the security features of a bill, the markings on the bill, the colors of the bill were similar. But in Nigeria, you pick the 500 naira bill, for example, you would see almost about 200 different 500 naira bills, depending on the batch it was produced, depending on who it was that produced it, and various other things such like. And so it was difficult. The OEM could not understand why you put in 500 naira bill and you had set the machine to record all the features on a 500 naira bill. They could not understand why it would reject 7 out of 10 500 naira bill. I remember at that time, I picked different types of 500 naira bills. Fortunately, I had a friend who was working at the mint, who was one of the guys in charge of the production of the note. I had to take it to him. I said, you guys in the mint, you are producing different types of the same bill. And he gave me various reasons. We use this plant, we have another plant here, we have another, which is not tenable, but guess what? That is Nigeria. What did I do? The vision is, I knew we're going to get to a point in the country where the ATM was going to replace the human tellers. And so I had to get the OEM. OEM, well, this 500 naira bill in Nigeria, we have to create different flavors. And we started working at it. I worked at that time with a company called Hyosung in South Korea. And we went, I had to go there several times with my team members with different bills. And eventually it started working. And in the bank where I worked at that time, we started replacing humans with machines. So I saw what many people were not seeing. I knew a time would come when machines will replace humans as tellers. And the same circle. So for me, one of the things that comes with visioning is being resolute in your belief in what you are seeing in the future. That will drive you towards achieving it. And that's one of the ways, we've been able to carve these things out in the digital world.
Thank you very much for that profound answer, right? And just to buttress on something you said about being resolute. So for leaders with vision, oftentimes you see people who tend to be followers try to step into the shoes of leaders or try to chastise them to say they don't know what they are doing. But you also agree with me that only those who wear the shoe knows where it pains the most. So through these challenges, how exactly as a leader do you still stick to this vision despite this backlash from followers or people who assume they can do better being a leader, despite the fact that you have the vision as a leader?
Okay, now the fact that you are a visionary leader does not mean you will not fail. And your acceptance of the fallibility of humans helps in this process. So there have been times that, people who have worked with my team members, they didn't believe in what we're doing, but maybe I had a strong belief and we went ahead and we succeeded. There were times that we failed. So when you are resolute and you have people who don't believe in what you want to do, what do you do? Number one is you have to be sure of what you are saying. Number two is you need to create within or around you a group of people who are constructive critics that will not just see failures, will be able to contribute, and not people who want you to fail because they want to be able to prove a point. We told him and he failed. So for me, I've always tried to create around me people who will question what I'm doing. And guess what? I've had my driver question some of the decisions we wanted to take, and he was right at the end of the day. So having that room for constructive criticisms and creating a network of people who would really be constructive critics is very critical. So being resolute does not mean you will not accommodate divergent views, but it means you understand where you are going. You take in those divergent views, the ones that make sense. Which takes me to separating between recommendations and resolutions. Everything that a critic says for a visionary leader remains a recommendation. It's not a resolution. You are at liberty to make a choice. And in life too, when people throw things to you, when you know where you are going, what they say is just a recommendation. And you either take it or leave it. So when you have a vision, it's not all recommendations that become resolutions. Some of them you drop if you wait. If it makes sense, you onboard it into your plan and you go ahead with the plan. So the truth is you have to listen to your team members. I don't call them followers in this case. I call them team members. For every visionaire, it's good to have team members, and in your team, have very good constructive critics.
Thank you very much for that, sir. I picked something there. Not all recommendations would become a resolution, right? And I think that leads me to this question. How do you then distinguish between lofty aspirations? Like sometimes, probably some of these visions, or should I call it? Yeah, let's use the word vision. Let's just stick to that. Can appear to seem like lofty aspirations, and then you're looking at what's obtainable in the moment around you, right? And how do you then strike a balance between what might appear to seem like a lofty aspiration and a realistic and actionable plan to make or decision to take while you're trying to maintain that rhythm as a visionary leader? How do you strike the balance? How do
Okay.
you distinguish?
So the truth is, you have to go through a discipline of taking every idea you have through an ideation process. So you have a vision, you have an idea, you have a dream, you are creative. It's not every idea that ends up becoming profitable. So there is something called an ideation process in visioning. So you have a vision, take the idea, pass it through the process. Passing it through the process means passing it through certain gates. The first gate could be this idea of what use will it be, both to me and to the people around me. What is the impact of this idea? The other one could be passing it through their various principles and various frameworks. It can be the SMART framework. But this idea that I have now, is it smart enough? Is it something that I can measure? Is it time bound? Is it achievable? Is it something that at the end of the day will be profitable to what we're doing? If you pass it through framework, and there are different types of framework. There is the Pareto principle, there is a SMART framework, there are time bound frameworks and all that. When you pass them through all these gates in your ideation process, at the end of the day, you check to see whether that vision is worth your while in chasing. Because for every time you chase a vision, you need to understand that there's something called opportunity cost. For the resources that you devote into chasing a vision, it means you are thinning down on the resources you could have used for something else. So when you get a vision, when you get an idea, to make sure it's something that is not just a dream. I have a pastor who puts it this way. He says there's a difference between a man with a dream and a dreamer. To make sure that it's something with a dream, something on a mission, on an assignment, pass it through certain gates, which we call the ideation process. And as you pass it through the gates, at the end of it going through the gates, which are like these frameworks which I've said, when you sieve it out at the end of the day, you'll be able to check to see, is this something worth the while? If it's something that is just a do-good, if you have resources left over after you've devoted to things that are worth the while, then you can go into, otherwise you drop it and you pick up another idea.
Thank you very much for that. That was really profound. So for those who are listening or even actually watching us, I would like them to understand, I see you as an exemplary leader. So I would like them to understand, what exactly do you think leadership is, and in what context will you view vision as an exemplary leader?
Thanks for the question, AY. Leadership to me is about influence, impact. Those two words always ring a bell whenever I talk about leadership. Leadership is, how are you able to make people achieve a goal? You being ahead of them. They achieving that goal for themselves and for the community, and you're a part of that community. That's influence. Influence is me seeing something good in you, a potential in you, and you trusting me enough to trust my judgment in the potential I'm seeing and going on that journey with me. When you believe in it, you have a sense of ownership and responsibility. Good leaders make followers who have sense of responsibility and ownership. Bad leaders create followers who don't have an ownership of the process. They follow. And the danger in following or having followers who don't have a sense of ownership and responsibility in your visioning process or as a leader is that they would leave you one day and they would join the next bandwagon. And at the end of the day, you not see any impact of what you have done in their life. So leadership for me is about how you're able to make people see potentials in themselves, in the community where you belong to, have a sense of ownership and responsibility, drive towards achieving those goals, and altogether the community benefits at the end of the day.
Wow, thank you very much for that. Grace.
Okay, I think at this point, I'm going to come in by asking, in your opinion, what role does organizational culture play in supporting and aligning with the leader's vision? Do you think it's good hamper the vision or support? What's your opinion?
So the truth is, if you are part of an ecosystem, the features of the ecosystem will have a great impact in how you do the things you do. And let's just be honest. It's just like you have a large circle, and inside that circle you have small circle. Whatever happens within the large circle will affect everybody in the circle. So where an organization does not have the right type of culture that encourages innovation, creativity, your vision will die a natural death. Not because you cannot dream, but because the culture will frustrate your dream, even if you dream. Which is why it's very critical people work in organizations where there's the right culture. The right culture will create an incubation for innovation. So, to be honest, Grace, the ecosystem is a major factor in the ability of leaders who have vision to thrive. That said, you have a few outliers that may be more visionary than the organization, and the impact will be felt external from the organization. But it's tougher. It's much more difficult to prove a point that you are more innovative than the organization you belong to. So more often than not, an organization that does not encourage innovation would breed people who are not innovative. An organization that creates an incubation for innovation will naturally frustrate those who are not innovative, but guess what? Create a lot of innovative people. So the organization is very important.
Ayomide, pardon me, please. I just want to ask quickly. So, can you say that you can actually say this common statement, or I don't know, it has become some people's mantra anyway, when they say stuff like, "Oh, talent goes to where it's rewarded," and all stuff like that. So, do you think that's
spot on? That's another, in fact, a better way. Thank you. A better way of saying what I've just said. The truth is, talent will go to where it's rewarded. An innovative man will go to where his innovation. For certain people, I mean, if you look at the pyramid of needs and all that, it gets to a certain point in your life where it's not about your financial gain. The reward you get is the impact that your ideas make. This idea that I have.
Inspiration, satisfaction.
Yes, inspiration. Thank you. How inspired. And how the inspiration tends to grow because there is a culture that encourages it. So to be honest, I would tell you, I mean, I've worked in different organizations. I felt more fulfilled, happier, and stayed longer in organizations that encourage my innovation. When I see the ideas I have making impact both in the organization and in certain organizations like where I work today, I see things transforming things across the country. Just because of an idea a few of us brought up. Sometimes someone says something and we go back and we work on it and we roll out a technology. Guess what? The entire market moves on. And you can see what impact what you have brought on board has done. Oh, it makes you to want to stay longer. It's a reward when you feel fulfilled that your innovation is at work.
That's very profound to know that someone can actually be more innovative than the organization in which they belong. And I would just like to take a quick switch to something that I feel is also very burning in the professional space. It's a topic around collaboration as well as difficult conversation. For leaders who have vision, you understand that that vision cannot be implemented by one person. You need stakeholders. And I love the fact that you also mentioned in the past that you have a good support system. So in a space whereby you have good support system, you have enough stakeholders. How exactly? Because at the end of the day, not all these stakeholders really get to understand the vision, right? So how exactly do you manage difficult conversations as a visionary leader so that the vision itself is not impeded?
So crisis management and confrontation management. When you go to all these business schools, they teach you all the things, the Fox approach, the bear approach, and all that. To bring it to life, when you have an idea, and you want to implement it in an organization, like I said, the culture of the organization will determine how you thrive. But there are times that the organization wants to encourage innovation and visioning, but there are certain people within the organization that are not that prone to change, and they are not willing to change. My advice is, when you want to bring up an idea, you need to get the buy-in of some influential members who can force certain change. I've discovered in trying to bring out creative things around the world that you need people who have influence within organizations to push what you want to do. So the first thing is, get a buy-in of people. Get the buy-in of some people. You don't need everybody's buy-in. Get the buy-in of some people. Once you get the buy-in of some people, it's easier to either get other people to believe or force them to accept. As much as you can, get the buy-in of everybody. But I will tell you from my experience that it's much more difficult. So for me, get the buy-in of influential people. That's the easy route. Another route to implementing things where you have to have difficult conversations is where it's clear that there is no way out. They won't allow you to do it. If you can create a simulation of what you want to do to convince people without impeding on the resource which has been assigned, then have that. The third thing I would say is your level on the leadership ladder would often determine how tough or easy your strong confrontations would be. When you are at the top of a ladder, you have been tested. You have climbed up the ladder, innovating. It's easier for you to get your way around certain things. But when you are below the ladder and you've not been able to prove yourself, sometimes it's tougher getting people to believe in you. So if you are at the lower rung of the ladder, get mentorship or get into communities that will help you prove your point. If you are at the topmost point of the ladder, sometimes, I'm sorry, you have to bulldoze your way through it.
And this actually takes me to a very important question. I don't know what works for you, but I've heard different styles of leadership. Maybe I don't want to go into the political space of saying autocratic, democratic, but in the perspective of saying force, like you said, sometimes some people just need force before they buy into change. Now, what do you think would be the best method, or what has worked for you? Is it a mix of both? The democratic that brings in people's idea and looks at what exactly is the best fit for the vision that we have at hand, or whereby you enforce when people are not buying into the vision wagon, right? Or is it a mix of both? What exactly has worked for you in the past years?
Okay, to be honest, it's better when you have buy-ins. I will tell you the truth. It's better. It's easier. It's also easier for you to get your recovery points when you fail, when you have buy-in. When you force something, people are waiting for you to fail. When you force something, they don't give you a second chance because you forced them. So for me, if you have a vision and you want to implement the vision, try as much as possible to get the buy-in of the people involved. When you get the buy-in of the people involved, it's easier for you. It gives you second chances to try to get to do what you want to do. But it's not every time you will get buy-in. So you need to go a thick skin if you want to be a leader that wants to get to the top of the ladder, where sometimes you get a very, very, very small but influential subsector of the entire ecosystem to force a change through.
So probably before Grace takes it up from here, there's one very important and burning thing that I would like to ask. Now, in a very fast-paced world, I'm taking it back to the years when you saw the vision of the digital system to now whereby artificial intelligence is probably taking over. So my question to you as a visionary and exemplary leader is, how exactly do you adapt as things are changing along the way? Because, I mean, if you don't move, you'll be left behind. So how exactly do you get to adapt? Because as at then, the vision you saw and what it is now, a lot has changed. So
Correct.
What exactly do you do? How do you adapt?
Ayo, you see, the truth is, I feel, I don't want to use the word like an antique now. I feel outdated, because the new programming, the new things young people are doing with data science, with the Python, with predictive analysis, A lot of machine learning, robotic process automation, the blockchain.
A lot of
There's a lot of new things happening. But the truth is, you have to change to be relevant. If you don't, the reason why I got to where I got to when I got there was because there were certain people who should have been there, but they did not flow with the wave of the change. And so the way I live my life is this. Sometimes I like going to the beach. And when I go to the beach, contrary to what many people go to the beach for, I like watching the waves. And every time I watch the waves, it's a reminder that I need to check where I am on the new wave that is moving. If I don't catch the wave, I lose momentum. And in life, you have to apply the same thing. Where is the new wave going? I mean, talking now about technology and professionally. I'm sorry, you have to go and read. And that's why we're in constant learning. You know, I was teasing some people, and this is real. I was reading to write an exam in cybersecurity. I don't need to write a certification on a good day because it doesn't affect my earning. If I pass all the cybersecurity exams today that I have not done, it's not going to add 1 naira to my salary. But guess what? It affects my relevance. When I come into conferences and I'm speaking, am I speaking based on the cybersecurity platform or technology platform of the past that the world has moved from? Or am I speaking based on something relevant? So even though you may not earn money, but guess what? You earn more respect and you become more of a professional mentor when you're at the top of your game. So for me, I'm always checking to see where is the wave moving. I want to be well positioned so that I can ride the momentum that the wave brings.
Thank you very much. Over to you, Grace.
Wow. Okay. So a lot has been said today, and I think one thing that I find amusing is the fact that you're a leader. You've led teams across various sectors, not just one sector. Yeah, we've been talking about digital banking, digital platforms, and all of that, but that's not where your leadership. I would say your leadership skills. Your leadership skills are not limited to just that. You're a Christian leader. You're a mentor to many. You're a father to many, and you've been a leader across various sectors. And of course, I'm sure that most of the organizations where you've worked have different cultures and different systems to them. Sometimes you're probably juggling between 2 or 3 or more. I'm sure that my knowledge of that is limited anyway. But then what I find amusing is how are you able to manage all of this, leading teams across various sectors in different cultures, different settings, and you're able to manage all of this, including the religious sector as well. So how are you able to manage being a leader in different sectors?
Thanks, Grace. Well, I don't know whether I've been able to lead at the top of my game everywhere. Well, I think for the things I try, the principles are the same thing, regardless of the sector, the industry, or the field, whether it's spiritual, whether it's physical, whether it's secular. The principles are basically the same thing. And I try to apply the same principles regardless of where I'm operating. My father in the Lord, Pastor Dr. W.F. Kumoyi, once said something. He said, if you look at the back of a vehicle, then, not now, there used to be a popular sticker at that time. On that sticker was, "Let them say." That the man who is driving that vehicle doesn't care about what the people at the back they are saying. He fixes his gaze at the focus, at the where he's going. So the first thing for me in every sphere I get to is to fix a destination. Where am I going to? If I see there is no destination in sight, I back out. Which is why there are certain things I have not done. If I don't see a focus, if I don't see a goal, if I don't see what is sufficient to drive me, I back out. So there are many things people have thrown to me that I've backed out from. Some have looked very promising, and probably enriching than the things I'm doing, but backed out because I don't see a destination. Number two, I don't have the right resources to get to them. So most of the things I get into, I sort out the resource question. What type of resource? The greatest resource you can solve is a human resource issue. I don't want to do everything by myself. So, and in leadership, one reason why leaders fail is that they tend to carry a lot of load. I don't like carrying so much load. I like going to the beach, like I said. I like taking a walk with my wife and my children. You understand? The only way I can do all those things is having people to do certain things so that I can have free time to spend with family and friends. I like going for dinners, even though nowadays I sit in the dinner table alone, and I eat alone. But I like going for dinners. The only way you can achieve that is to solve out the human resource problem. So once I find a focus, a destination, the next thing I'm working on is working to make sure that we have a structure, leaders who we can achieve this together. And the top thing for me is to create recovery points. What are recovery points? When you do anything, make sure you don't go back to 0 points. If you've moved up to a certain point, create a landing that doesn't bring you back to 0. And what does that mean? So, for example, I start a business. And when we start the business, we're investing. I say to myself, the first 3 major profits that will come into this business will be savings that will devote into another investment different from this investment. So if anything happens in the economy and this business should crash, I have a recovery point. So create a recovery point. What recovery point does to you as a leader and envisioning is, it doesn't bring you back to where you started from and you now need to start afresh. So those 3 things and other things which, I probably put in place are the things which have helped me. And most times, people attribute many of these successes to me. The truth is, the successes are really attributed to the strong group of leaders who I work with in getting things done. Many times, probably because I'm the face, it's attributed to me, but I make it clear that it's that structure that works to achieve the goal that should take the credit.
Thank you very much. So as we wrap up this inaugural episode, before I hand over the mic to Grace to wrap up this session, I have one final question, which is around how important it is for leaders to have depth. And I've interacted with you on a couple of occasions. I know you are a man of depth. So I want to understand, as leaders with a vision, because you see most people who are so eager to lead people, but at the end of the day, when push comes to shove, when they are meant to get the hands dirty and get the job done, you realize that there is no depth. It's just a facade. So what exactly do you think, or how important is it as leaders who have vision in sight, who have a goal in sight, to have this depth, if at all they are going to achieve this goal?
Yeah, thanks, Ayo. So there are 2 principles that must go side by side. You're either a subject matter expert, or you have subject matter experts very close to you. So you become a subject matter associate.
Can you take that again?
You are either a subject matter expert. That means you have all the depth that is needed to do what you want to do. Or if you know you are not, the next thing you need to do is to have subject matter experts close to you. So you become an SMA, subject matter associate. Associate because you have people in your network that can build your net worth as it relates to those particular matters. That's what gives me depth. There are many things I don't know, but if I know it's something I want to do and I need depth in, I immediately start looking for those who know, who can help me, and I put them very close and I share the reward with them. I don't keep the reward to myself alone because we're all in it together. So that's just the answer. That's what gives me depth. It's either I'm a subject matter expert, go and check, or I'm a subject matter associate. And how you can differentiate, if I'm a subject matter expert in something, I would give you not just the theory, I will give you the facts because I have read. If I'm a subject matter associate in something, I will tell you, please hold on. I have somebody who I can talk to. Can we talk tomorrow? And I go back to that person and this is what I want to do. I build the context of what has happened. When necessary, I bring them on board. But if I don't have to bring them on board, I learn from them. And I keep them in the reward mechanism so that they are always around, so I can remain a subject matter associate.
So I know I said that's the last question, but one last question.
Ayomide.
What exactly is your advice to upcoming leaders? Because for me, you are someone we really look up to. So we as young and upcoming leaders, as I'll call it, what would be your advice to us? What are the steps to take so that we don't also stumble on the way to leadership?
I think the first thing for me will be, you need to know what you want to achieve in life. Pick your battles. So number one, know what you want to achieve. Number two, pick your battles. Number three, be consistent. Be consistent. Be predictable. Number four is that you need to be sincere. Let people see your sincerity. One thing that has made many people to back out from people is they see they are not sincere. Number five is have empathy. I'll tell you what empathy does in leadership. When people know you have empathy, they'll take a bullet for you. I'm not saying the bullets, literal bullets, but they'll take a bullet for you. They'll take a bullet for you because they know your success will always rub off on them. And if you want to be a good leader, you need to be a leader that has empathy. You are focused, you are disciplined, but you have empathy. There are a lot of times that very good leaders end up not leading well because they are driving the goal so much that they drive the people they are working with to the point where those people get too hot that they can't recover. So those 5 things are the things which I advise upcoming leaders. Have empathy. And if you wrap everything all around, you'll find out those who are not just godly, but also good. You are godly, but you're also a good person, good at heart, good in your nature, good in your relationship with people, trying to build value into people. They would almost always have those 5 things which I've said earlier on.
Thank you.
Okay, before Ayomide comes with another question, I think I'll take it up from here. And at this point, this brings us to the end of today's episode. Ayomide, I hope you forgive me after this. Thank you so much, Mr. Tobe Nnadozie, also known as the legendary PT. It's been an amazing session, and it's been wonderful having you on our first episode, inaugural episode. And I must say that one thing is clear. Mr. Tobe Nnadozie is a leader who does not just talk the talk, but one who walks the talk. So thank you once again for joining us, sir.
Thank you for having me on the Leadership
Thank you
Compass.
very much for everyone listening. As we wrap up the session, this inaugural episode on leadership and vision, I will end with this quote which says, the worst thing or anything, what can be worse than being blind is having sight but no vision. So I would advise us to keep charting the course of leadership, and keep your compass ready to achieve the goal you have at hand. Thank you very much. See you on the next episode.
See you on the next episode.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.